What if I told you that everything you think you know about reality is just a carefully constructed illusion? What if the very fabric of existence operates according to ancient codes that have been hidden from humanity for thousands of years? And what if there was one man who dedicated his entire life to decoding these sacred mysteries, only to have his discoveries suppressed by the very institutions that claim to seek truth? Before we dive deep into this forbidden knowledge, I need to ask you something important. What time is it where you're watching this from? And where in the world are you right now? I'm asking because the ancient codes we're about to explore operate differently depending on your location on Earth and the cosmic alignments happening at this very moment, and understanding your position in space and time will help you better integrate what I'm about to share with you. You see, most people go through their entire lives completely unaware that reality itself is encoded with sacred geometric patterns, numerical sequences, and energetic frequencies that determine everything from your thoughts to your destiny, from the way matter forms to how consciousness itself manifests in this dimension. But there was one man who saw through the veil, a man whose name has been systematically erased from mainstream academia, whose research papers have been buried in classified government archives, and whose discoveries about the true nature of reality were deemed too dangerous for the general public to know. His name was Dr. Marcus Aurelius Blackwood, though that wasn't his real name, and you'll understand why he had to hide his true identity as we uncover the explosive truths he revealed about the hidden codes that govern our entire existence. But here's the thing that will shock you to your core. The ancient civilizations already knew these codes. They built their entire societies around them, and they deliberately encoded this knowledge into structures, texts, and teachings that would survive the test of time, waiting for the right moment in human evolution when we would be ready to decode their messages. The Egyptian pyramids, the Hebrew Kabbalah, the Sanskrit Vedas, the Mayan calendar, the Greek mystery schools, they're all part of an interconnected web of knowledge that points to one undeniable truth. Reality is not random, it's not chaotic, and it's certainly not what your 5 physical senses are telling you it is. Instead, reality operates according to precise mathematical formulas, sacred geometric patterns, and energetic codes that can be decoded, understood, and most importantly, manipulated by those who know the secrets. Dr. Blackwood spent 43 years of his life decoding these ancient mysteries, traveling to remote monasteries in Tibet, studying with indigenous shamans in the Amazon, working alongside quantum physicists in underground laboratories, and piecing together fragments of knowledge that had been scattered across cultures and continents for millennia. What he discovered will fundamentally change how you see yourself, your purpose, and your place in this cosmic game we call existence. You've probably been taught in school that ancient civilizations were primitive, that they had limited understanding of science and mathematics, and that modern humanity represents the pinnacle of intellectual evolution. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie ever perpetuated by those who want to keep you disconnected from your true power? Dr. Blackwood's first major breakthrough came when he was studying the mathematical relationships encoded within the Great Pyramid of Giza, not the surface-level tourist information they feed to the masses, but the hidden measurements that archaeologists and Egyptologists refuse to acknowledge publicly because they would completely overturn our understanding of human history. Using advanced laser measurement technology and quantum field detection equipment, he discovered that the pyramid's dimensions contain precise mathematical ratios that correspond exactly to the fundamental frequencies of human DNA, the orbital patterns of planets in our solar system, and most shocking of all, the vibrational signatures of what quantum physicists call the zero-point field, the underlying energetic matrix from which all reality emerges. But here's where it gets really mind-blowing. These same mathematical codes appear in ancient texts from completely separate civilizations who supposedly had no contact with each other. The Hebrew tree of life contains the exact same geometric relationships as the Hindu Sri Yantra, which mirrors the sacred geometry found in Tibetan mandalas, which perfectly matches the proportional systems used in Gothic cathedrals, which align with the mathematical principles underlying the Chinese I Ching. Coincidence? Dr. Blackwood knew better. He realized he was looking at remnants of a global civilization that existed before recorded history, a civilization that understood the fundamental codes of reality and deliberately scattered this knowledge across the planet in various forms to ensure its survival through the dark ages of human consciousness that they somehow knew were coming. The more he studied these connections, the more he understood that every ancient culture was trying to tell us the same thing. Reality is holographic in nature, meaning that every part contains the whole, and by understanding the codes embedded within any fragment of this ancient knowledge, you can decode the entire system and learn to work with the fundamental forces that shape physical existence. The Sanskrit texts speak of it as Maya, the illusion of physical reality that conceals the underlying unity of all existence. The Kabbalistic teachings describe it as the four worlds of creation, each operating according to specific divine codes and correspondences. The Hermetic traditions call it as above, so below, meaning that the same patterns repeat at every level of reality from the microscopic to the cosmic, and the indigenous shamanic traditions worldwide speak of it as the dream time, the underlying energetic reality from which the physical world emerges. Dr. Blackwood realized that all these traditions were describing the same fundamental truth using different symbolic languages, and by cross-referencing their encoded teachings, he could reverse engineer the actual operating principles of reality itself. But here's where the story takes a dark turn that will make you question everything you've been told about the nature of power, control, and information in our modern world. The moment Dr. Blackwood began publishing his preliminary findings, connecting the dots between ancient wisdom and quantum physics, demonstrating how these codes could be used to influence physical reality, heal the human body, and accelerate consciousness expansion, he found himself under surveillance by government agencies whose very existence is classified above top secret levels. His research grants were suddenly terminated without explanation. His university positions were eliminated due to budget cuts. Prestigious journals that had previously welcomed his work began rejecting his papers without peer review. And most disturbing of all, other researchers working in similar areas began experiencing mysterious accidents, unexplained illnesses, and sudden career-ending scandals that forced them out of academia entirely. You see, the powers that control our global systems understand these ancient codes better than most people realize. They've been using them for centuries to maintain their dominance over human consciousness, and they absolutely cannot allow this knowledge to become widely available because it would immediately end their ability to manipulate and control the masses through fear, scarcity, and spiritual disconnection. Think about it. If people understood that reality is malleable, that consciousness shapes physical experience, that the human body contains dormant abilities to heal itself and access higher dimensions of knowledge, and that we're all connected to an infinite source of creative power, would they continue to accept poverty, disease, war, and environmental destruction as inevitable aspects of human existence? Would they continue to give their power away to political leaders, corporate executives, religious authorities, and media personalities who claim to know what's best for them? Would they continue to believe that they're helpless victims of circumstances beyond their control, or would they start taking responsibility for their own consciousness and begin creating the reality they actually want to experience? Dr. Blackwood knew his research posed an existential threat to the current power structure, so he made a decision that would define the rest of his life and ensure that this knowledge would survive even if something happened to him. He began encoding his discoveries into publicly available information using the same symbolic methods employed by the ancient mystery schools, hiding the most important revelations in plain sight where they could be accessed by those who were ready to receive them, while remaining invisible to those who weren't yet prepared for the responsibility that comes with understanding the true nature of reality. He embedded coded messages in academic papers on seemingly unrelated topics, created mathematical art pieces that contained precise instructions for consciousness expansion techniques, published fictional novels that were actually detailed guides to ancient magical practices, and most brilliantly, He began training a small network of students who would continue his work after his mysterious disappearance in 2019, though whether he disappeared voluntarily to continue his research in secret or whether he was eliminated by those who wanted to suppress his discoveries remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time. Now I'm going to share with you some of the most profound discoveries that Dr. Blackwood made about the geometric codes that govern human consciousness, and I want you to prepare yourself because this information is going to fundamentally alter your understanding of what you are, how your mind actually works, and why you've been experiencing reality in such a limited way throughout your entire life up until this moment. Dr. Blackwood discovered that human consciousness doesn't actually originate in the brain the way mainstream neuroscience claims, but instead operates as a complex geometric receiving and transmitting system that interfaces with multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously. And the key to unlocking your full potential lies in understanding how these geometric codes function within your energetic anatomy. Using advanced biofield imaging technology that he developed in secret, he was able to map the actual structure of human consciousness, and what he found was absolutely extraordinary. Your awareness operates through a series of interconnected geometric forms that correspond exactly to the sacred geometry found in ancient temples, mystical texts, and natural phenomena throughout the universe. At the foundation level, your consciousness interface operates through what he called the primary dodecahedron, a 12-sided geometric form that creates the basic framework for how you process information from multiple dimensional realities and translate that information into thoughts, emotions, and physical experiences within this three-dimensional reality matrix. But here's where it gets really fascinating. This dodecahedral structure is subdivided into smaller geometric units that correspond to specific functions of consciousness. The triangular units process logical and analytical information, the square units handle emotional and intuitive data, the pentagonal units interface with spiritual and multidimensional awareness, and the hexagonal units regulate the flow of life force energy throughout your entire system. Ancient mystery school initiates understood this geometric structure of consciousness and developed specific meditation practices, breathing techniques, movement patterns, and visualization exercises designed to activate dormant geometric pathways and expand their consciousness beyond the limitations that most humans accept as normal. The Hebrew Merkaba meditation works by activating the geometric light body that surrounds your physical form. The Tibetan Yantra visualizations help you align your consciousness with cosmic geometric patterns that exist in higher dimensions. The Egyptian Ka practices teach you how to separate your consciousness from your physical body and travel through geometric portals to other realms of existence. And the Greek sacred geometry mystery teachings show you how to use mathematical relationships to directly influence physical reality through focused intention and geometric visualization. Dr. Blackwood realized that every authentic spiritual practice from every genuine mystical tradition throughout history was actually a form of applied geometry designed to upgrade the operating system of human consciousness, and by understanding the underlying geometric principles, you could accelerate your spiritual development beyond what would normally take decades of traditional practice. But here's the secret that the ancient masters encoded into their teachings but never explained directly. Your consciousness doesn't just receive and process information through geometric patterns, it also broadcasts geometric information that directly influences the quantum field around you, meaning that by consciously working with these geometric codes, you can literally reshape physical reality according to your will and intention. The deeper Dr. Blackwood dove into the ancient codes, the more he realized that numbers are not just abstract mathematical concepts created by human minds to measure and quantify the physical world, but instead represent fundamental aspects of cosmic intelligence that operate as living forces throughout all levels of reality, from the subatomic to the galactic, from the personal to the universal. And understanding how to work with these numerical codes gives you direct access to the creative principles that govern all manifestation in this universe. You've probably noticed certain numbers appearing repeatedly in your life, on clocks, license plates, phone numbers, addresses, receipts, and you might have dismissed these as meaningless coincidences or confirmation bias. But what if I told you that these numerical synchronicities are actually direct communication from your higher self, your spirit guides, and the universal intelligence itself, trying to guide you toward understanding the specific numerical codes that are most relevant for your personal growth and spiritual evolution at this particular moment in your journey? Dr. Blackwood spent years decoding the numerical systems embedded within ancient texts and discovered that every authentic spiritual tradition understood numbers as vibrational frequencies that correspond to specific aspects of consciousness and reality creation. The Hebrew Gematria system assigns numerical values to letters and words, revealing hidden relationships between seemingly unrelated concepts and demonstrating how different words that share the same numerical value are actually describing different aspects of the same underlying reality. The Greek Pythagorean number mysteries taught that mathematical relationships govern everything from musical harmonies to planetary orbits to the structure of the human soul. The Sanskrit Vedic mathematics contains algorithms for calculating cosmic cycles, consciousness states, and karmic patterns with incredible precision. The Chinese I Ching uses numerical sequences to map the flow of universal energy through 64 possible configurations that correspond to every possible situation you might encounter in human experience. And the Mayan mathematical systems track multiple time cycles simultaneously, allowing them to predict astronomical events, consciousness shifts, and collective evolutionary phases with accuracy that modern computers can barely match. But here's what mainstream education doesn't want you to understand. These ancient numerical systems weren't just philosophical curiosities or primitive attempts at mathematics. They were sophisticated consciousness technologies that allowed initiated practitioners to align their personal energy with cosmic forces, predict future events by reading the mathematical patterns in present circumstances, and most importantly, consciously participate in the creation of reality by understanding how numerical codes influence the quantum field. Dr. Blackwood discovered that specific number sequences act as access codes for different levels of consciousness and different dimensions of reality, and by learning to recognize and work with these codes, you can systematically expand your awareness beyond the limitations of ordinary human perception. The number 432, for example, appears throughout ancient architecture, musical systems, and spiritual practices because it represents the baseline frequency of universal harmony. When you attune your consciousness to this vibrational code, you naturally align with the fundamental rhythm of cosmic creation and find that synchronicities, manifestations, and intuitive insights begin flowing into your experience with unprecedented ease and accuracy. The number 1618, known as the golden ratio or phi, appears in everything from the spiral patterns of galaxies to the proportions of human anatomy to the growth patterns of plants, and by consciously working with this numerical code through meditation, visualization, and sacred geometric practices, you can accelerate your physical healing, enhance your creativity, and optimize the efficiency of your decision-making processes because you're aligning your personal operating system with the same mathematical principles that govern all natural growth and evolution in the universe. Perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Dr. Blackwood's research involved his discovery that what we call physical reality is actually a complex vibrational matrix operating at frequencies that are mostly invisible to human perception. And by learning to consciously adjust your personal vibrational frequency, you can literally shift from one version of reality to another, accessing timelines where different possibilities have manifested and experiencing life circumstances that most people would consider miraculous or impossible. This isn't New Age wishful thinking or metaphysical speculation. This is cutting-edge quantum physics confirmed by decades of scientific research that has been suppressed because it would completely transform human civilization if it became widely understood and applied. Dr. Blackwood worked with advanced frequency measurement equipment to map the vibrational signatures of different emotional states, thought patterns, belief systems, and consciousness levels. And what he discovered was that each distinct vibrational frequency corresponds to a completely different version of physical reality with different laws, different possibilities, and different potential outcomes for your life experience. When you're vibrating at the frequency of fear, scarcity, and limitation, you literally exist in a version of reality where those experiences are normal and inevitable. Resources appear scarce, opportunities seem limited, relationships are challenging, health problems manifest easily, and creative solutions to problems remain hidden from your awareness because they exist at vibrational frequencies that you're not currently accessing. But when you consciously shift your vibrational frequency to match states of love, abundance, gratitude, and unlimited possibility, you automatically shift into versions of reality where those experiences become your new normal. Resources flow naturally into your life, opportunities appear seemingly out of nowhere, relationships become harmonious and supportive, your body heals itself more efficiently, and creative solutions to any challenge present themselves clearly because you're now operating at vibrational frequencies where these positive outcomes naturally exist. The ancient traditions understood this vibrational nature of reality and developed specific practices designed to help initiates consciously control their vibrational frequency. The Tibetan monks use specific sound frequencies and overtone chanting to shift their consciousness into higher dimensional awareness. The Hindu mantras are precisely calibrated vibrational formulas that align your energy field with cosmic forces and divine attributes. The Sufi whirling and ecstatic dancing practices use movement and rhythm to alter brainwave states and access transcendent consciousness. The Native American drumming and ceremonial practices use repetitive rhythms to induce shamanic states where communication with spirit guides and interdimensional beings becomes possible. And the Egyptian temple initiations used acoustic chambers designed with precise mathematical proportions that amplified specific frequencies and triggered profound consciousness expansion experiences. Dr. Blackwood realized that every authentic spiritual practice is actually a form of vibrational technology designed to help you consciously navigate between different frequency bands of reality, and by understanding how these technologies work at a fundamental level, you can adapt them to your modern lifestyle and begin experiencing the reality-shifting effects that ancient mystics spent years developing through traditional practices. But here's the secret that changes everything. You don't have to spend decades in meditation retreats or mystery school initiations to master these vibrational codes. Your consciousness is already equipped with all the necessary technology. You just need to understand how to activate and operate the vibrational control systems that have been dormant within your awareness since birth. One of Dr. Blackwood's most controversial discoveries involved his research into what he called the hidden genetic library, dormant DNA sequences within human genetic structure that contain not just biological information for physical development, but actually store detailed instructions for consciousness expansion, multidimensional awareness, psychic abilities, healing capabilities, and direct interface with cosmic intelligence networks that span multiple galaxies and dimensions of existence. Mainstream genetics tells you that the vast majority of your DNA is junk, meaningless evolutionary leftovers that serve no current function in human biology. But Dr. Blackwood's research proved that these so-called junk DNA sequences are actually deactivated instruction sets waiting for the right activation codes to unlock abilities that would seem like science fiction to most people but were considered normal human capabilities in ancient civilizations before the Great Consciousness suppression that occurred thousands of years ago. Using advanced spectroscopic analysis and quantum field measurement techniques, he discovered that specific combinations of sound frequencies, light patterns, geometric visualizations, and consciousness states can trigger the activation of dormant genetic sequences, literally rewriting your biological programming and unlocking capacities that have been sleeping within your cellular structure throughout your entire life. These activation codes are embedded within ancient practices that have been passed down through mystery school traditions, indigenous shamanic lineages, and esoteric spiritual teachings. but their true purpose has been hidden behind layers of symbolic language and ritual complexity that prevented casual practitioners from accidentally triggering genetic changes they weren't prepared to integrate safely into their consciousness and life experience. The Sanskrit seed syllables, for example, are not just sacred sounds for meditation, they are precise acoustic frequencies that resonate with specific DNA sequences and activate dormant genetic programs related to enhanced intuition, energetic sensitivity, healing abilities, and expanded states of awareness. The Hebrew divine names used in Kabbalistic practices are vibrational formulas that trigger genetic activations related to manifestation abilities, prophetic consciousness, and direct communication with angelic intelligences that exist in higher dimensional realities. The Egyptian hieroglyphic sequences found in pyramid texts and tomb inscriptions are actually genetic activation protocols disguised as religious literature. When properly understood and applied, they can activate DNA programs that allow consciousness to separate from the physical body, travel through different dimensions of reality, and maintain awareness and memory continuity across multiple lifetimes and incarnations. Dr. Blackwood discovered that the human genetic structure contains latent programs for telepathic communication, remote viewing, precognitive awareness, energy healing, matter manipulation through focused intention, and direct interface with the quantum information field that underlies all physical reality. And these abilities can be systematically activated through specific combinations of ancient practices that work at the genetic level to upgrade your biological operating system. But here's what makes this information so dangerous to existing power structures. Once these genetic activation processes begin, they're irreversible. You can't go back to unconscious living. You can't pretend that you don't know about your connection to cosmic intelligence. And you can't continue accepting limitations and suffering as normal aspects of human experience because your expanded awareness makes it impossible to maintain the illusions that keep most people trapped in cycles of fear, scarcity, and spiritual disconnection. This is why the knowledge has been suppressed, why Dr. Blackwood's research was considered classified, and why certain organizations will go to extreme lengths to prevent this information from becoming widely available, because once a critical mass of humans begins activating their dormant genetic potential, the entire structure of human civilization will transform virtually overnight, rendering obsolete all systems of control that depend on keeping people disconnected from their true nature and unlimited creative potential. Perhaps the most mind-bending aspect of Dr. Blackwood's research involved his discoveries about the nature of time itself and how the ancient codes contain specific instructions for navigating between different temporal realities, accessing information from past and future timelines, and consciously shifting your personal timeline to manifest outcomes that exist as possibilities in parallel versions of reality that operate according to different sequences of cause and effect than the one you've been experiencing as normal. Everything you've been taught about time is wrong. Time is not a linear flow from past to present to future. It's not a river that carries you along whether you want to go or not, and it's certainly not beyond your conscious control and influence. Dr. Blackwood's research revealed that time is actually a navigational system that operates more like a vast library where every possible moment that could ever exist already does exist, and your consciousness moves through this temporal library by following specific codes that determine which sequences of moments you experience as your personal reality timeline. The ancient civilizations understood this multidimensional nature of time and developed sophisticated practices for conscious timeline navigation. The Mayan calendars tracked multiple time cycles simultaneously because they understood that different aspects of reality operate according to different temporal rhythms, and by aligning with these various time codes, you can access information and abilities from past and future versions of yourself and integrate them into your present moment. Experience. The Hindu concept of yugas describes vast cycles of consciousness evolution where different eras operate according to completely different laws of physics, spirituality, and human potential, and by understanding where you are within these cosmic time cycles, You can align with the specific opportunities and challenges that are available during your current incarnation period. The Egyptian mystery schools taught advanced practitioners how to use astronomical alignments and sacred geometry to create temporal portals that allowed consciousness to travel to different time periods and gather knowledge from advanced civilizations that existed in the past or will exist in the future. The Hebrew Kabbalistic teachings describe different levels of time corresponding to different worlds of creation, and by learning to shift your consciousness between these temporal levels, you can access divine knowledge that exists outside the limitations of linear time and space. Dr. Blackwood discovered that your personal timeline is not fixed, it's constantly shifting based on your consciousness level, your vibrational frequency, your beliefs about what's possible, and your willingness to take responsibility for consciously creating your reality rather than accepting whatever circumstances seem to happen to you by chance or fate. Every moment presents multiple possible futures, and the choices you make with your attention, your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions determine which of these possible futures becomes your actual experience. But here's the secret that changes everything. You can consciously access information from the possible futures that exist as potential outcomes and use that information to make choices in your present moment that guide you toward the timeline where your highest vision for your life is already manifested successfully. The ancient codes contain specific techniques for timeline shifting that work by aligning your consciousness with the version of yourself that already exists in a reality where you have achieved your goals, resolved your challenges, healed your wounds, and developed your full potential, and by maintaining consistent vibrational alignment with that future self, you literally pull that timeline into manifestation in your current physical experience. As we come to the end of this journey into the hidden codes that shape our reality, I want you to understand that you now possess information that has been suppressed for centuries, knowledge that has been considered too dangerous for the general public, wisdom that can literally transform your life and accelerate your spiritual evolution beyond anything you previously thought possible. But with this knowledge comes responsibility to use these ancient codes wisely, to continue learning and expanding your understanding, and to share this information with others who are ready to awaken to their true nature and unlimited potential. Dr. Blackwood spent his life uncovering these secrets because he understood that humanity stands at a crucial point in its evolutionary journey, a moment when we must either awaken to our cosmic heritage and begin creating a reality based on love, wisdom, and spiritual connection, or continue down the path of fear, separation, and destruction that has characterized much of human history up until this point in time. The choice is yours, and the time is now. You can continue living as if you're a powerless victim of circumstances beyond your control, accepting limitation and suffering as inevitable aspects of human experience, or you can begin applying the ancient codes you've learned today and start creating the reality you actually want to experience, developing the abilities that are your birthright as a cosmic being, having a temporary human experience, and contributing to the awakening of human consciousness that is happening all around our planet at this very moment. The ancient masters encoded their wisdom into symbols, numbers, geometric patterns, and vibrational frequencies because they knew that someday, when humanity was ready for the next stage of evolution, individuals like you would be drawn to this knowledge and would have the courage to begin applying it in their own lives, becoming living examples of what becomes possible when human consciousness remembers its true nature and begins operating according to the cosmic codes that govern all creation throughout the universe. Remember that every great spiritual teacher throughout history began their journey exactly where you are right now, with curiosity about the deeper mysteries of existence, willingness to question conventional beliefs about reality, and dedication to discovering and developing their full potential through consistent practice and application of ancient wisdom teachings that have been preserved specifically for moments like this when individual awakening contributes to collective transformation. The codes are real, the knowledge is available, and the time for awakening is now. The only question that remains is whether you will have the courage to step into your power and begin the journey of conscious evolution that will transform not only your own life but will contribute to the healing and awakening of our entire world. Thank you for joining me on this exploration into the hidden knowledge that shapes our reality. And remember, the greatest discoveries are not found in books or videos, but in the direct experience that comes from applying this ancient wisdom in your daily life and observing the miraculous transformations that unfold when you align your consciousness with the cosmic codes that govern all existence throughout the infinite dimensions of creation.